This is Frances Catherine, Vice President of the East End Chamber of Commerce, and we're here today to talk to you about Gulf Coast Distilleries raising money for the Texas Craft Spirits Political Actions campaign. And there's a hashtag Still Strong Texas. We're very honored to have Julian Geraldo with the head distiller at Gulf Coast Distillery. And then we also have Spencer Whelan, Executive Director of the Texas Whiskey Association. Now, you may not have ever heard of the Texas Whiskey Association, and we're very honored to have Spencer. So hi, welcome, Spencer.
Hi, how are you? It's good
I'm
to see you
doing
guys.
great. And hi, Julian, good to see you.
Hi, good to see you, Francis. Good to see you, Spencer.
Yep.
Yes. So we wanted to let everybody know that they're raising funds, $10,000 by Labor Day, and Gulf Coast Distillery will match that. And the funds are going to be helping them. And I'm going to let them explain a little bit more of why. But to start you off, we're going to let Julian tell you a little bit about Gulf Coast Distillery and what they've been doing during this pandemic. Julian, thank you so much. And we're going to go to the next slide.
Okay, well, thank you guys for joining to this live. We are a local and family-owned business. We are located close to downtown. We are the largest distillery in Houston, and we have been pushing hard to promote the local distilleries. And as a part of this, we're supporting the movement that Spencer created to push politically to change the rules of the sales for the Texas liquor. We shifted direction when the pandemic started to produce hand sanitizer. We produced a bunch of hand sanitizer for the community. We donated over 250,000 gallons of hand sanitizer to the first responders, to the police, to the firefighters, to the Texas Children's Hospital, because we felt that we had the capability to help the community. So we had the infrastructure to change everything to hand sanitizer production, and that's what we did. Under the direction of Carlos Villaldecoa, our CEO, we moved all the people on all our efforts to produce hand sanitizer. Within 5 days, we were able to set up a whole plant to produce hand sanitizer, and that's how we helped the community. We're always here to help the community, and now we're asking the community to help us back. We are, as I said, a family-owned business. We're local, so we want your support, especially with this cause. This cause is pushing hard to change very obsolete regulations on liquor sales. And if we get that done, a lot of things are going to be facilitated for the small distilleries, for the craft distilleries, so they can survive during these days that are very hard and tough for the small businesses. So that's who we are. I hope when all of this is done, we can reopen and you guys can visit us, and please support us.
Thank you so much. And you're right, the tasting room has been closed because it's considered a bar, and employees are not able to work in it, and customers aren't able to come there. Spencer, can you tell us a little bit about what you do and why this is so important?
Yeah, so again, I'm the Executive Director of the Texas Whiskey Association. We formed almost 2 years ago now. So we're coming up on our second anniversary here on September 18th. And originally it was to promote the concept of Texas whiskey, that the whiskey industry in Texas specifically is only about 13 years old. Garrison Brothers Distillery, which you may have heard about, was the first legal bourbon whiskey distillery in Texas. Very close right after that was Balcones. Both of them now are world-renowned whiskey brands. We have more whiskey brands that are growing throughout the country or throughout the state, and then obviously growing in popularity around the country. So originally it was just to create awareness of the fact that Texas could create indigenously a whiskey product that was world-class. So what we've kind of shifted to now, pretty much since end of February or early March, was this shift to what can we do in the pandemic? Because the other thing we do is we run the Texas Whiskey Trail, which is a way for consumers to pay an annual membership fee. They get to go to every distillery across the state on our trail, visit them, experience what it's like in a tasting room, take tours, learn about the process of whiskey. All of that's gone. Right. Since March, all of that's gone. And what we did as an association, and our members like Julian and the team at Gulf Coast there, is they shifted almost immediately to the production of hand sanitizer. the FDA and the Tax and Trade Bureau gave allowances to produce hand sanitizer. This was done without direction from the Texas Department of Emergency Management. This was done without direction from the governor. This was done because we saw a need that we could uniquely fill, and we did it. And in the entire month of March, we just kind of went down that path of creating sanitizer. These guys at Gulf Coast being one of the biggest distributors of that, because they had an amazing bottling line and the ability to do that. And then as it progressed, we were all told in March that this was like a 2 to 4 week, 2 weeks to flatten the curve, 4 weeks to flatten the curve. So basically, once it was very clear that that was not going to happen, and all the tasting rooms were closed anyway, it became clear that throughout the rest of this year, distilleries were going to be in a bad position. And not just because the tasting rooms are closed, but because they're uniquely restricted in what they're allowed to do out of their tasting room. For example, not very many people know this, so I'm glad to be having a chance to talk about it. One is you cannot buy, as a consumer, more than 2 bottles per person per 30 days when you visit a distillery. So even if you go and travel from out of state and you come to visit a distillery, you can't buy more than 2 bottles, period. And then you have to wait another 30 days. And you have to do it in person. That's the only way that it's allowed. There's no allowance for direct shipping. There's no allowance for age-verified delivery. And there's also limits on, like I said, there's limits on the number of bottles that can be sold, and they also can't sell on Sundays, right? So they have these 3 unique restrictions that are pretty unique to Texas distilleries that prevent them from being able to sell their own product and make revenue. So you combine closed tasting rooms with these existing restrictions, and you have a recipe for disaster where most of our distilleries are 60 to 80% decrease in revenue since March. So that is the purpose of this, is like, hey, not only do we have the ability to produce sanitizer, help the community in this unique situation, do things like hurricane preparedness, and we have unique production abilities there, but we're uniquely restricted. So in short, the Political Action Committee is intended to address those issues specifically, because we're not asking for a bailout or a handout from the state. We're asking for the removal of certain restrictions so that these folks can stay in business.
And it's so important because I know that Gulf Coast is a huge one, and I hear that they even made hand sanitizer for some of the smaller distilleries out there. So it's a family, and without your help, they might not have had that. And I'm sure that they're even hurting more so because of the not being able to produce and sell hand sanitizer. So I see the need, and I myself, I know when Gulf Coast had a special day when they were selling hand sanitizer along with bottles. We tried to go back a couple of weeks when they did it again, and you're right, we weren't able to buy anymore because we bought 2 bottles a week prior. And I thought that was very odd. If you can do that at a store, and in Houston, you should do that at a distillery too. So it does make sense. So I'm glad that we're having this conversation, because I think a lot of people just are not educated on these different rules. And it seems like it was an old rule that times have changed, and that we just need to help them change with that. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, the laws in alcohol are all over the place, right? When Prohibition was repealed in the 21st Amendment, it basically gave all the rights to the states. So every state has unique and different laws around the sale and distribution of alcohol. The 3-tier system is what we have in Texas, where producers produce, then they provide it to distributors, distributors get it to retail, and retail's allowed to sell. So those are the 3 tiers. And as you said, retailers can sell, and they haven't been closed through the entire process here, but retailers can sell and get it to market as quickly as possible. People can buy as much as they want, right? But if you go to a distillery, you're prevented from doing that. And in this particular scenario, and we're talking mostly about craft distilleries. So when we say craft, it kind of means, historically has meant small. Now, Gulf Coast Distillers is a craft distiller focused on the craft of production of whiskey, but they are not small, right? They have this amazing production capacity. So they've done an amazing job of being a craft distiller in a large scale environment. But what is unique is that they're all governed under this same kind of blanket rule. And unless you're a high brand recognition brand, right? Like unless you have large brand awareness, like Tennessee whiskeys and certain scotches and certain bourbons out of Kentucky, those products are going through the roof. People are buying like 200 to 300% more of those products because they know them, and they go to a delivery app and they can have it delivered to their home from a retailer. Distilleries that are craft or young and haven't had that kind of brand recognition, they're kind of left out in the cold, because the way people got involved with craft brands was going to tasting rooms and learning and tasting them for the first time, or doing a tasting at a bar and understanding it, and then going and seeking those products. But now they're not allowed to travel or not allowed to go into a tasting room. So the only option is this curbside pickup of 2 bottles per person per 30 days. And ironically, the same distillers are allowed to take a higher alcohol by volume product like sanitizer and ship it in the mail or deliver it or sell as much as they want, right? So it's just the laws are all over the place, and we're hoping to see that change, because it just doesn't make sense in a pandemic.
I agree. And Julian, thank you. In Gulf Coast Distillery, I know you're one of the bigger ones out there, but you're going to be matching this $10,000 if they raise it by Labor Day. Why is that so important? And we put the link up here for people to contribute. But why have you guys stepped up and made such a big effort?
Well, we strongly support the Texas Whiskey Association. And as Spencer was saying, I think that the rules are old and overrated, and we're not asking for a traumatic change on the rules. We're just asking for a modernization of those rules. I mean, how sad is this that in these days we can't sell our product online? I mean, that should be something that it should be doable in any state. And for the laws that we have here in Texas, we are not allowed to do that. So yeah, we're just asking for some recognition of the crisis that we're living through, and for some help so we can get along with that crisis. We have many opportunities to change the rules, so it'll help all the small distilleries, and that's why we are putting a big effort, and we're matching the $10,000 once we raise by Labor Day, because we strongly believe that this is something that needs to happen.
Right. And Spencer, all of this is going to be collected. What can we do other than making a donation here? Is there any support letters, calls to anybody that we can do?
Yeah, so the way we've designed the campaign is you can go to this link here for Gulf Coast that you see on the screen. You can also just type in stillstrongtx.com, and it'll take you to a landing page. You'll see all the distilleries and affiliated organizations that are participating. Each of them have their own fundraising page. When you go through that process, if you donate, and what we're suggesting is donate $50, roughly the cost of the bottle, a nice bottle of whiskey, right? Donate $50, go through the process. On the confirmation screen, there will be a form where you can fill in your same information, and it'll automatically send a letter to both of your legislators at the state level, the governor and the lieutenant governor, to let them know that you support this effort, and then share it over and over. If you don't have the ability to donate right now, you can still go to texascraftspirits.org and find the advocate button, and then you'll be able to just send the letter by itself if you want to do that. So those are the ways that people can participate. And I think it's really important to say one thing, is that this is a political action committee, right? This is not a donation to the distillers. This is not a relief fund. It's an effort to, for the first time in Texas history, get the producers together and say, these are the things that we need to do, and make the government aware of what this unique challenge is in this growth industry that is possible here in Texas, right? There's been about 8 states that since the pandemic have allowed direct-to-consumer shipping, places like Virginia. And in Virginia, which is a control state, meaning you have to buy liquor from a state-owned liquor store, when they opened it up, they are allowing craft distillers to ship directly to individuals, and they have seen revenues increase 41% since they allowed it. But what's very interesting about that is not only did those distillery revenues increase 41%, but the liquor stores themselves saw a 16% increase in sales. Because what this does is it gets the product out to consumers to try. They're not going to be ordering large amounts to be shipped to them every month, right? They're going to try something, then they're going to go to their local liquor store. So it actually lifts multiple tiers at the same time. And it's going to be good for all of Texas. We just need to get to the realization of understanding that.
This has been really wonderful. Any closing remarks that you would like to add, Julian? Because I see it much clearer, and I think a lot of people who are watching this can understand it a little bit more. Julian, any closing remarks that you would like to add?
Well, we're just asking to everybody for help. I mean, they can go to the link that Spencer was saying before. They can donate or at least support and be an advocate of this cause. I think good things will come after this, but we just need the help of everybody so our words can be heard. As again, we're a local business. We are very proud of making a Texan product. We switched all of our sources of our grains are Texan. We could be doing whiskey with grains from other states, but we want our product to be Texan because we're proud of it. So we're just a bunch of Texans helping Texans. So let's stick together and let's push this cause, because I think it's going to be something that is going to change the laws here in Texas, and it's going to help everybody. Spencer was saying that in other states that online sales will go up 40%. I just read that the small distilleries, 40% of the small distilleries, they are closing down because they don't have any business going on. So we need to help those small businesses. If we change the rules, that's going to help them to just stay alive during this crisis. Because that's all we're asking for, and please help us and support us.
Thank you. And Spencer, any other closing remarks that we may not have mentioned?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to everybody who's participated so far. We've raised a pretty decent chunk of money to help with this effort. We've sent over 15,000 letters to the governor. We still have not heard any official response from the governor's office. So, I mean, there's some things that can be done now to get the governor to put an executive order in waiving certain restrictions now. And then, but this is going to be a long-term effort. We're going to have to, codify this into law. So that's why this fundraiser is important now, is because we need to have the ability to keep Texans aware that this unique industry that, like I said, we currently have the best bourbon in the world being produced out of Texas. We have the best single malts in the world being produced out of Texas. We have some of the, I don't know this for a fact, but I think we produce more hand sanitizer than any other state, mostly because of guys like Julian and the team down there. So Texas is doing the right thing, but we are handcuffed by these laws. So all I would do is encourage people to recognize this, socialize this with your friends, and make them aware of what we need to do to make this industry work.
Wonderful. So we're all here to help modernize the rules, just make it fair for everyone and all other states, and help these small mom and pops that could be closing doors very, very soon if the laws don't change, to help them succeed. So thank you both, Spencer and Julian. I wish you a great weekend. I know that there's a hurricane amongst us right now, and I'm sure that once this is over, if needed, you guys are going to turn your distilleries into producing sanitized water, which is going to be helpful for everyone else. So thank you. We rely on you. Now it's, and you have supported us, so now it's our turn to turn around and support you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. Have a great weekend.
You too.
Bye-bye.